premise of this series is to understand that if the left shoulder ignites and completes the backswing, the 9-inch journey of the left shoulder controls 15 things. And we're moving on to look at them specifically, and we're talking about the way that the feet work and the way that the weight transfers. One of my sort of teaching and sports heroes is a doctor called Professor Paul Hurrian. And he studies biomechanics and wonderful things like ball flight. He's been doing work with Ronaldo on the free kick, examining how the football reacts when it's curving in flight. And I'd often wanted him to come and look at my Explanar. And Paul, to be honest, was a little bit cautious about it. He wasn't fully convinced. But I said, look, Paul, come and have a look at it. And if it's right, you need to know. And if it's wrong, I need to know. Well, bless him, he turned up. And at the start of the meeting, he gave me a big ring-bound folder, and he'd measured the weight distribution of all the professionals on the European Tour that year. Now, most of us, when we play golf, the way that the feet work, our weight goes right heel, left toe, left heel, right toe, right heel, left toe. It's like a figure of 8 in the club golfer. But when Paul put pressure pads under their feet with professionals, he found that all the professionals, and by that I mean all the professionals, were a figure of 8 going back, but to a man, they then went in a straight linear line towards the target. So, Paul measured me. He got me to swing a driver, and he put the pressure pads there, and sure enough, I produced a figure of 8 weight shift. I was left heel, right toe, right heel, left toe. It was that type of movement. So then he put the pressure pads under the mat in Explanar, and I took the power roller, and I just made 1 or 2 rather gentle swings. And on the 3rd swing that was complete, I'm happy to report that my weight was linear towards the target. So I was greatly relieved that what Explanar coaches and teaches and suggests is actually what the good players do. I'd have been very disappointed if it wasn't doing that. For Paul, it made the crossover. He went from being dubious about Explanar to understanding how it worked. And Paul is a great coach of the putting. He's developed the Quintic Putting Lab, and if you can afford the time, go and visit him and spend half a day. It's one of the best half days you'll ever spend. But Paul has found that even using the Explanar, he can teach putting with it and chipping, because he knows that when people go into the Explanar and you set it at the correct angle, it fosters the leg action and the footwork that the good players have. So, if we go back to hitting the ball towards the target, in other words, we're going down the plane line, down the path towards the flag. What he had noticed was not just that the good players were linear in the through swing, the better the player, the longer they were linear. Now just recently, well I say just recently, a couple of years ago, at the players' dinner at Augusta, Tiger Woods sat next to Gary Player, and Tiger turned to Gary and said, "Mr. Player, I'm confused about my golf swing." Well, what an indictment that is to people that have taught him. He should never have left Butch. So what was Gary Player's answer? Well, I think it was a very wise one. He said, "Tiger, I've played with all the modern greats, Byron Nelson, Ben Hogan, Jack Nicklaus, Tom Watson, Nick Faldo, you name it, I've played with them. And in all those decades of golf, nearly 6 decades, I've never seen a great player who turned left through a golf ball. You see, if you turn left through a golf ball, the weight shift is no longer linear. So why would you suggest a swing movement or a shot type that encouraged turning left? Well, you might if you had a horrendously strong grip like Dustin Johnson. Okay, it's the modern idiom. Really strong grip, turn left to compensate. I think it's cost Dustin 3 or 4 majors, because with half a wedge, 3/4 wedge, he is suspect. He can deal with that shut face in a full swing. The moment he's less than a full swing, he is susceptible to pressure. He's a great player, great athlete, great credit to the game. And while the left-hand grip and the boat at the top is okay in the long shots, as I said, it makes him rather frail in the less than full pitch or chip. So, in slow motion, the left shoulder goes under the throat. That has created a weight shift to my right foot mildly. Now, I'm going to go down towards the target, and now my weight shift is linear. I do not want my weight going to my left heel. I want my weight to go through. So on this one, I'll swing through the ball for as long as I can. Now I think if you measured that, and I caught it a fraction thin, I think it's evident that I'm linear. When you see pictures of Mr. Hogan at impact, he is there. He is not turning left. So, Gary Player, golfing hero of mine, knows his stuff, loads of experience. I thought it was a very simple and very perceptive answer. He said, Tiger, I've never seen a great player who turns left through the ball. And I think Paul Hurrian's research with the pressure pads with all the European Tour show that it's a fib. The best players go towards the target the longest. Lee Trevino was measured in the early 70s and he had the longest extension through the ball and his weight shift was towards the target. Although he had a fade mechanism at the very end, he went to his left heel. In the hitting area, through there, he had incredible linear weight shift. If it's good enough for Lee, I think it's good enough for us.